7 words you wish you'd hear from your boss's mouth but never will. Vacation is a lifeline, not a luxury. If you've been waiting to book that trip that you know you need, this is your sign. Book it now. Welcome to Life Talks with Lex, a podcast where we keep it real, raw, and relevant as we explore conscious conversations about the human experience and all of life's conditions. I'm your host, Coach Lex, a self-development and leadership empowerment coach whose mission and passion is to bring more love, joy, peace, and empowerment to individuals on a real level. I have a heavy background in human services, psychology, mental health, behavioral health care, human design, astrology, and much more. I am so glad that you're here and hope you subscribe and stick with me through this season and beyond to be a part of the Conscious Collective. Hey there, good to be back with you guys this Tuesday. I cannot believe we are almost at the end of August. Where did that summer go? It was like 2 seconds long, and January seemed like it was yesterday. Insane how quickly time is moving. By the time you're listening to this episode, I am probably wrapping up the tail end of my trip out in Phoenix, Arizona. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today because this trip was truly transformational. I get out to Phoenix usually once a year, but for some reason, this was a trip I knew I needed. I've never stayed for this long. I've never stayed for 3 weeks, and I knew I was going to be working and vacationing and relaxing and grounding and recentering and doing a little bit of everything. But It was a trip I knew I needed. I answered the call, and the call was indeed for me. So, can't wait to share what I've learned and reflect on the message that I really want to drive home for all of you today. But before we jump into that, I quickly want to touch upon the last episode of the show, Natural Influencers. Natural Influencers is a new series I'm starting where I interview individuals from across the globe who are having a really unique, profound, significant impact on others and humanity in a multitude of ways, right? So last episode was the first episode of that series, and I interviewed Andrew Schoenfeld, who is a licensed clinical social worker who's been practicing for 38 years. He's also an author of a new book called The 7 Secrets of Psychotherapy. Guys, if you have not listened to this episode yet, either put a pin in it to listen to it after this show, after this episode, or pause this and go listen to that first. It was probably one of the most mind-blowing interviews I've ever had the privilege of doing. Just what a great conversation in terms of shifting perspective, of changing dynamic, of really rewiring the brain and everything that just challenging what we think we know about the subconscious mind and mental health and therapy in the traditional sense. Andy is often referred to as the anti-therapy therapist. So just to give you an idea, you're not going to hear the same conventional self-help talk that you would from a conventional traditional therapist that's been in practice for 38 years. If you want to hear some really mind-blowing, life-changing perspectives and you want to foster some serious change in your life, I highly, highly suggest going to listen to that episode. Download the episode so that you have it. Listen to it a couple of times, take notes, and really pay attention. You can also get the book, which is on Amazon, for like less than a cup of coffee. You can get the digital version or a printed version for not much more than a cup of coffee. Really, really, really powerful book, and it will have a significant impact on everything you think you know about life and the human condition. Okay, so if you haven't had a chance to listen to that episode, go do it. Go star it. Go download it. Whatever you need to do. But I bring it up now because it's something I'm also going to talk about in this episode. Just the content, the material of this message I'm bringing to you guys today is really related to some of the groundwork that Andy was able to lay for me and within that episode for all of you. Separately, Natural Influencers will be a series that continues to run. As I described, I'm looking for individuals that are really making a profound and significant impact on others and humanity in any way, shape, or form. So if that's you, if that's someone that you know, please reach out to me, alexischristycoaching@gmail.com. My email is in the show notes. And let's connect. Let's see if it's a fit. Let's see if there's room to bring you on the show or bring who you know on the show for an impactful interview. And as a reminder, last update before we really dive in, if you take something from this show, if you are really resonating with the messages, if you find yourself coming back every 2 weeks to really hear the divine downloads that are being shared on this show, please take a moment to rate the show on Spotify. It's just a click of a button, or review the show on Apple Podcasts. My show is ad-free. I want it to remain ad-free, and I make this show so that you can take what you need from it. If you find that you're enjoying it, you've subscribed to it, please, 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 I encourage you to share your support and share what you love about the show so that others can be exposed to it as well. It is my mission this year to reach more and more individuals in order to educate and empower them on how to harness their unique essence and really cultivate more love, joy, and peace within themselves and the collective. The only way that gets done is if we help one another to do so. So rate, review, and pay it forward. If you take something of resonance from this show, from an episode, share it with at least one other person within your network who you know will also get something from it. Be intentional about it. Okay? All right. So I started off by telling you guys I took 3 weeks out in Arizona. Crazy, right? Those of you that have ever been out to the West Coast in the dead of summer or who live out here are probably thinking that I need my head examined. But listen, I've been out here. I come out to Phoenix like once a year. I'm out here pretty often. I was out here in July last year for a Morgan Wallen concert. It was 119 degrees. So I really don't think it gets much hotter than that. When I looked at the temps for this month, they were much milder, and I was like, I can handle it. I'll be all right. So I booked the trip. I mean, I had this planned out months in advance. Originally, it was supposed to be September. I was supposed to be traveling with some friends to San Francisco, to Las Vegas, and kind of making AZ my home base. It just didn't pan out that way, but I was still determined to take this trip because I knew that I needed it. I knew I needed it. I wanted to take an entire month just for me, whether I was working or not. Why? Because Arizona is the one place where I feel physically energized. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for what the day has to offer. And I feel good. My body feels good. B, it's the one space where I can just be, period. I can just exist, right? There's no roles, there's no expectations. There's just like support to be and be an experience of. And I absolutely love that. There's freedom, right? And freedom is one of my top values. Those of you that know me know that anything that I've done in my life is to be in alignment with more freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of energy, freedom of space, freedom of expression. And it's something I really like to help others achieve and understand, because I sincerely believe that true prosperity is about that freedom. And Arizona is just that space for me. It always has been. I'm usually here for like a week or 10 days. I've never been here for 3 weeks. I really like to be somewhere for an extended period of time so I can do things that I wouldn't normally do. I can try things I wouldn't normally try. I just have the time and freedom and space to have balance. Like, I don't have to rush through the week trying to fit everything in that I want to see or that I want to do, or feel like, I didn't do enough, or I did too much and now I need a vacation from the vacation. I really wanted this trip to be balanced, and it has been in every sense of the word. Now, anytime I take a trip that has a really profound effect on me, I want to share it in a way that isn't just like, hey guys, look at me on my great vacation. It's not really about vacationing for me. It's not. Like, I go on a trip to have an experience. And I think that's at the heart of today's message, right? Just keep that in mind. This is about experience. It's not necessarily about taking your PTO, which you should do, or, planning a vacation to, some fancy dancy place and getting, all the bells and whistles. It's not about treating yourself and splurging and all of that. It's about being in a space where you are present to experience. Last year, for instance, I was out in California at an Angels-Yankees game at Angels Stadium. I did not plan to even go to that game. Just sort of happened. The opportunity arose and I was like, all right, yep, I'll go. Went to the game, and I had this moment where I was walking around the stadium. The sun was setting. Mind you, this was one of the most beautiful baseball stadiums I have ever laid eyes on. And if you've been to California, it almost looks like the colors in the sky are painted into it. It's unreal sometimes. So I was walking around the stadium. The sun was setting. The palm trees were surrounding the stadium. I was just looking at, the apartments, the condos in the area that were also surrounding the stadium. And I just had this surge of gratitude run through my body. Like, whoa, I'm really here in this moment. And that happens to me a lot. But I'm here. I'm seeing this. I get to be here. And it wasn't like I was on some beach, in Turks and Caicos, or, seeing one of the 7 wonders of the world, but I was present to experience that moment. And it was so wonderful, so special to me. And from that moment, I remember recording just like a short little episode on my podcast about how you need to see more in order to be more. And that quote has stuck with me to the point where every time I travel now, I'm like constantly reminding myself, see more, be more, see more, be more. There's more to see, there's more to be. And I really took this trip and meditated on that. Like, what does that mean and how deep does that go? Now, obviously, this trip began in the air. I actually flew from Connecticut to Vegas, and then from Vegas, my dad and I drove back to Phoenix. So I was in the air for a while. You want to talk about getting humbled in an instant. Get on a plane, right? Get on a plane, open the window, look down. It is incredible how small our lives, our worlds, our towns, our communities look from the air, from the sky. It looks just like a bunch of grids, a bunch of squares, a bunch of circles that make up what we know to be our lives. But really quickly, you're reminded of like how small that actually is in the larger scheme of things. And it's not to say that like our lives are insignificant. It's just to say that when we're on the ground, it's very easy to forget that we're a part of this larger whole, that our existence is expansive, it's vast. It's very easy to be in our own little bubble down there and see the world through our own little lens that extends, across this grid. But it's so much larger than that. And I'm talking like this is the first time I've seen it, the first time I've been on a plane, which it obviously isn't, but it is the first time I've seen it like this. So again, it's all about that presence, right? It's like, what? I'm here right now. What can I see? What can I feel? What do I notice? Really, really being present and tuning in. I could have shut that window and went to bed. It was 6 a.m. I think I got maybe 2 hours of sleep before my flight. But I think what I've realized now more and more, and with this thought in my head, right? See more, be more, really primed into my brain. I'm always looking. I'm always tuning in to the moment. And because of that, when I practice this, I'm really able to receive the gifts that come with being present, which is what it's all about. When I tune in and realize this moment is for me, it's happening, it's available for me to take whatever I perceive from it, to see it for what it is. It is some of the most abundant joy and gratitude I've ever felt. Really, really powerful stuff. And really, it's no secret. It's about keeping your eyes open and paying attention. There is so much for you to see, but if you're not looking, if you're not paying attention, you can miss it. You will miss it. It's there for you, but you have to pay attention. So when I finally got to Phoenix, I knew this trip was going to be different. I knew it was going to be full. And I wasn't sure exactly what that looked like, what that was going to mean. I just knew I was coming open. I was coming open. Eyes were open. Mind was open. I was geared up, ready to go, ready to lean in to whatever came my way. Now, I also came with the desire and intent to really connect with and learn how to connect with my sacral energy. For those of you that have been keeping up with me and kind of the trajectory of my coaching and where I'm going, I've really dove into human design lately, and I've brought human design into my coaching for the simple fact that it has taught me a tremendous amount about myself and really speaks to the essence of others. And that's like my thing. I'm all about harnessing essence and really driving home the fact that we are all built different. We are all unique in our own way. So I am ruled by this sacral decision-making response. And to me, it's all about being in connection with my body, which is something that I don't always feel, right? Like I've had a tumultuous relationship with my body. Hated my body for a long time. I had an eating disorder for 4 years. It's not always been it's not always been the most harmonious relationship. And so just based off the fact that I can be incredibly indecisive, I have a tendency to check out instead of check in. I knew that coming on this trip, getting in touch with that energy was something of top priority. And so getting here, I knew I was like, I want to try yoga. I want to be in the pool. I want to like have these slow mornings and really meditate and drop back into my being and try new things. So that's kind of like how this trip began. It was a lot of that. And, it involved me exposed to completely new things I had never done before. I would have never thought of doing. I would have never paid for horseback riding at sunset in the Sonoran Desert. Might sound like a dream to some people, but I had never been on a horse. I'm going to be almost 30 years old. I had never been on a horse. I had fed a horse. I had been on a pony when I was like 4. And I had never been on a horse, right? So it was things like that. It was things like getting on a pedal boat, which I have never done before. Simple things, but just different ways to use my body. When I was out in Sedona, I went on this like 4-mile hike and it was hot. And typically I would have been like, nope, it's too hot. It's this, it's that. Trekked it out. I wanted to just be in this space, be in this energy, and feel my body differently, see my body differently, connect with my body differently. And it was really kind of incredible how my view of my physical being started to shift. I really just started to see my physical body as a vessel. Like this is a vessel that houses all of the energy I am in connection to. So how does it need to be nurtured? What do I need to do for it? How can I nurture it so it in turn nurtures me? So that when I do check in, when I do need to make an important decision, when I have to decide, is this something I want right now? Is this something I don't want right now? My body can be in response, right? That's that sacral response, that gut, hell yeah or hell no. And let me tell you, the more in tune I was with that nurturing of the physical body, the more that response got clearer. And as an added bonus of this presence and this exposure, like anytime I would try something new or I'd go somewhere I hadn't gone before, or do something I hadn't done before, there was a gift. And the gift was experience. I would experience myself, the world, something, someone in a way I hadn't before. And it usually came in the shape of another human being, of others, right? Everywhere I went on this trip, everything I did on this trip, I swear to you, I had some of the most pleasant, delightful, harmonious, incredible interactions and engagements I have ever had in my life on a single trip. I mean, everywhere I went, the energy was so pleasant. And the conversation was rich. And those are some of my favorite moments in life. I call it humanity at its peak, right? Because we're all tuned in at the same time, and we're doing what we've been designed to do, which is connect. We're doing what we've been designed to do, which is be present for the moment. And that alone, right? Like when you cross paths with people you would not have met if you hadn't have gone on not just the trip, but if you hadn't had tried this or that or done this or that, you wouldn't have met these people along the way. And the simple act of meeting them does something for you. It does something for your day, your psyche. Like, again, it's that effect of like, my world is so small and there are so many humans out here also living in their small worlds. But when our worlds get to cross, when they get to collide, when they get to connect and collaborate, it is truly a beautiful thing. And that's what's happening when we travel, when we leave home base, when we're in environments that are not typical to us, right? Because we are so glued to this bubble. And in this bubble, we do the same things every single day. We access the same energy. We have the same tendencies. We isolate from one another. We shut down. We're burnt out. We're unhappy. And it just is perpetuated by this ongoing cycle of work, grind, hustle, hustle, hustle. And maybe you do have some balance in there, but it's really important to get out of your own backyard and see more, right? It's important to do that because what it does is it opens you up to be more of who you are. It opens you up to experience yourself and to experience the world in a much different way. And that is a gift. That is a gift that sticks with you. It's a souvenir that's not going to break in your suitcase. It's a photo you're probably not going to be able to share on Facebook. It's an experience that's just ingrained within you now, like within your heart and your soul and your mind. It's ingrained. It's changed you in a significant way. Perhaps it's increased your productivity. Perhaps it's shifted your perspective. Perhaps it's the experience that is really what we're after at the end of the day. It's not so much about taking the PTO just to get away from work and turning the out of office emails on and, shutting down and getting blackout drunk somewhere on a beach and having a ton of fun. Don't get me wrong. It is about having fun. I had a blast on this trip. But it's so much more that is available to us when we take that time, when we travel, when we get away from what we're used to, from what we do on a day-to-day basis. There is so much available to us. And I think sometimes we just forget that. We either forget it or we don't have the energy, we don't have the capacity because we've been so spent on everything else, on the grind, that when we finally get that moment, it's like, I don't know what to do with myself right now. Just crack me a cold one and let me shut down completely because I don't have anything left, right? And it's part of the reason why one vacation a year is not enough, okay? It's part of what I said at the beginning, which is this is a lifeline, not a luxury. It should be a lifeline. in other countries, I mean, our country is the country with the lowest or some of the lowest amount of vacation time available to its employees. If you have the opportunity, if you work in a job where you either work remotely or you have a small business or, you work online, whatever, and you have the ability to take time away and go somewhere new, go somewhere different, don't take that for granted. Go wherever you can. Go wherever you can financially afford to go, and understand that you can't afford to not go. Because really what's available to us in that time away is so much more than just cracking that cold one and shutting down for the week. There is immense possibility to be present, to be more productive, to be influenced in a positive way, to shift our perspectives, to experience something new, to expand our networks, to expand our insight and our wisdom, and to grow and evolve. I mean, this all comes from just changing scenery, from just seeing something we have not seen before. Think about it like going to school, right? Learning new material. Well, travel movement is a form of that evolution, of that growth, of that comprehension. We have to see more in order to be an expression of more. It's not going to happen by simply shutting the laptop and going rogue for a week. It's not going to happen, right? Those are the people that you hear come back from the vacation and say, I need a vacation from my vacation. That wasn't enough. Because what did I even do? What did I even see? Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if we really think about it, and if we think of like even our weekends, like, okay, you can't afford to take a week trip, right? This isn't just about booking a, super expensive excursion to another country and doing it big or whatever. It's about even getting in your car and going somewhere you haven't been before. Maybe it's a state away, maybe it's a few towns away, but like, for me, that's not enough. Like I can't stay within the same state. I can once in a while. I do. But like if I'm really in need, I'm like, I got to get out of here. I have to get out of the bubble, right? Because it's super easy to just, super easy to stay within that bubble wherever you go. So for me, it's about, I have to get far enough away where I know I'm in a different space and I can be open to experience. But you can do this. You can cultivate that openness within your community, within your town, within your state. You can. It's just a matter of getting outside and doing something different. But like, use your weekends. Use your days off and use them intentionally. Don't just shut down. When you shut down, listen, it's still valuable. It's good to shut down once in a while. But when you shut down, there's nothing to reconnect to, right? Like, it's like, okay, the power went out. And so nothing is working. And when the power comes back on, it's just back in the grind, right? There's no respite. There's no solace in doing that because you're just temporarily shutting the lights off. Whereas intentionally being present, being exposed to something new, being an experience of new places, new people, new things, yourself has this regenerative quality to it. It's like, I'm going to breathe life back into you so that you can go back to work. You can go back home with this perspective, with this newfound energy and this newfound understanding and experience of life itself. Wow, right? Wow. It's crazy to think about it that way. But it's so simple, because I'm not talking about like having the most profound experiences on vacation, right? I did a lot of cool things on this trip, but for the most part, the moments that brought me such awareness and such presence and perspective were some of the simplest moments. It was meeting a couple on the train that were from a different place than I was, that had different insights to share, that, were vulnerable with me. It's things like that have the potential and the power to really remind us what this life is all about. Separately from getting up and getting out of our environments is learning something new, right? Exposing ourselves to new material, exposing ourselves to new people, to different ways of doing things, different lenses of different views of seeing things. Because how married are we to our own dogma, to our own principles? And it's not a bad thing, to stand on your principles. But we definitely have the tendency, and you can go back and listen to the first episode of this season, the mask of identity and why it's killing us. We have a tendency to really, really, invest in what we believe to be ourselves, and really all of these ideologies that are keeping us separate from ourselves and from others. So it's really key to seize the opportunities we have to experience ourselves and others in a different way, to be open to new ways of doing things, to new ways of seeing things, so that we could really be more authentic. We could really be more in connection. My human design class, which I taught on August 12th, and I'm definitely going to be hosting another one. It was a free class, Intro to Human Design, was a way for people to come and see and experience themselves in a new way, in a different way. Really powerful. Human design itself has the potential to shift the way we look at a resume, a credit score, a GPA, like all of these identifying factors that have supposedly been used to make us who we are and how we describe ourselves. Human design has the power. It's a tool that really brings us back home to our actual being, our actual essence. And it puts us in a place where we can raise our frequency of being, because it's like an internal GPS. So again, the people that came to that class, it was a form of like, I want to see more in order to be more. I want to see myself. I want to see life. I want to see design. I want to see genetics. I want to see physics. I want to see, energy in a new way, so that I can be more in expression of it so I can be more. Absolutely wild concept when you think about it, because there are so many ways we can do this. There are so many ways we have available to us to apply this. Even the interview that I did with Andy 2 weeks ago, right? See my subconscious mind in a new light, understand it in a new way in order to enhance my being. Whoa, everything is purposeful. Everything is purposeful. Get out of your own backyard. Start talking to people. Start being present and being open so people can start talking to you, right? That's one thing that we overlook. We tend to overlook. I'm really guilty of that because I'm a 2-4 from a design perspective. The hermit just wants to be left alone. She's like, don't bother me. But the 4 is the networker, and the networker understands that there is rich opportunity in being open and showing up and being present and interacting with the gifts of life every day, every moment. So that's what it's about. It's not so much about racing off to the next destination. It's not so much about doing. What we do is merely a function, an extension of who we are, of who we're being. How do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be? Right? How do you want to harness that energy? And how can you use your eyes, your mind, your senses to enhance the quality of who you are? What might you like to see? What might you need to see in order to be more of that? So I want to quickly share a story or anecdote with you that I wrote and posted with no context up on my Facebook page while I was out in Sedona. I had woken up early for the sunrise to get a little work done, and these words just sort of formed in my head. It's a story that is familiar to all of us. It is a story that will sound relatable. It is a story that you've probably told, but I posted it with no context, just a photo where I am standing at one of my favorite views in Sedona on the road that leads up to the airport vortex. I posted it, no context, because there's so much meaning to yield from it, and I wanted everyone to take exactly what they needed. And I'm going to read it to you now. The journey. It's new and exciting and a little scary. Your eyes and mind are wide open. You start off fiercely on your way towards your destination. The road is straight and flat. Blue skies abound. Nothing stands in your way. You are determined, unstoppable, and tenacious. The road grows long. You grow tired. You stop for breaks along the way. You're certain your stop is just a couple miles up ahead, so you carry on. The road gets bumpier and you more weary. Why couldn't they have just paved this better, you think, dragging your feet across uneven pavement? Thousands of folks travel this road every day. Why isn't it more smooth? You huff and puff and carry on another mile. It's just up ahead, you tell yourself. The road grows windy. There are twists and turns at every corner, and you begin to wonder if you miscalculated the distance. No, it can't be. You've checked the map hundreds of times. You know where you're going. Onward, upward, you insist. Along the way, fellow travelers stop to offer you a lift, a water, an extra map, but you refuse. I don't need anything else to slow me down. Full speed ahead. You pass them and persist forward. The road has become an uphill slope. You wonder if your legs will even carry you to the top, but still you persist. Breathless and weary, you push yourself forward past the 0.5 miles to destination side ahead of you. Yes, we're almost there. I knew this was it. You climb and climb, a new fire in your eyes. A set of stairs just to the top and you'll be on the other side. You climb some more. You take the final step, the final stair, and with a sigh, you close your eyes to rest in relief. Ah, you've made it. You open your eyes. A bright orange sign says closed for construction. Detour. You blink in disbelief for a moment and then fill with rage. You curse at the sky and the empty road, demanding answers, but no one is there. You've never felt so defeated in your life. Time, energy, resources, all spent. All that remains is you, a detour sign, and the journey. You take a seat on the top step, shoving your face into your hands hopelessly. Tears stream down your face and you cry. But when the last tear falls and you lift your head to dry your eyes, you are amazed. You see before you one of the most beautiful views you've ever laid eyes on. You almost can't even believe it's real. You are stunned by its beauty, and for a while, all you can do is bask in it. Birds chirp, blue skies abound, and you realize there is no one but you here to enjoy this view. This moment is yours. You smile. And simultaneously, you realize that although your destination has changed, you have traveled an incredible journey. You don't know where you're going or how you're getting there, or if the destination really matters any more than your capacity to go the journey and the fact that it is yours. All the bumps, the twists, the turns, the travelers, the signs, the view, and you. No, you decide. The journey is far better than the destination. It is beautiful and perfect, and wherever it leads, you always get to be on it. Onward and upward, there is more to see and more to be. I heard that story through the vessel I nurtured on this trip, and I told it as one of my own, but also as all of yours, because I know we are all on the journey. I know we are all rushing towards the destination, and I know that there is so much to take from this experience and this perspective. This is what it's about. I want you to read it over and over and over again. If you find you've resonated with it, read it over and over again. Contemplate those words. See more, be more. What do they mean? What do they look like within your life? How can you apply them? And just a few hours after hearing those words through my vessel and writing them down to share with all of you, I arrived at the Verde Canyon Railroad because I had a scenic 4-hour train ride planned with my niece that day to go through the Verde Canyon in Sedona. And what do you think was staring back at me in that gift shop on every pamphlet, every shirt, every mug, every item in that store? But the words, "It's not the destination. It's the journey." This experience is happening for you. If you don't believe it, just get out there and see. I love you guys. Until next time. If you enjoyed today's episode of Life Talks with Lex, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. To stay current on all the latest from Coach Lex, you can find me on Instagram at Alexis Christie Coaching, or shoot me an email, alexischristiecoaching@gmail.com, with any comments, questions, concerns, or topics you'd like to see explored on the show. I look forward to hearing from all of you, and I look forward to the next conscious conversation.